right, ladies and gentlemen, really quick, I just want to tell you about one of our fantastic sponsors, and that is Soldier Girl Coffee Company. So if you are watching the video, you can definitely check out the screen share here. I am on our website, and you can go to affiliates, or this will be changing to sponsors soon, and click on Soldier Girl Coffee. As it says on the website, Soldier Girl Coffee is a veteran-owned company. They definitely provide the absolute best coffee I've ever had. It definitely has the pick-me-up that I need in the morning. If we check out her website, of course, down in the right-hand corner, you can definitely chat with her. You can get exclusive discounts she offers to our listeners just by putting your email address in the box on the website. As you can see right here, she has French vanilla cream, 100% Colombian, snickerdoodle Hawaiian hazelnut, and she offers regular as well as CBD-infused coffee. So be sure to go and check out her website. Of course, you can get there by going to our website at businessandbrewshow.com/soldier-girl-coffee, or you can just click the link in the show notes and it'll take you right here. You click on view products and it takes you over to shop around. She even has a little bit of merch. I know when I ordered my bag of Colombian roast, I really enjoy Colombian roast, and she has the best Colombian roast that I have ever had. And of course is a veteran-owned business, but I got a sticker as well as a thank you note. So I really enjoyed that. So now I have my very own Soldier Girl coffee mug that I can drink my Soldier Girl coffee out of. So once again, right now, exclusive discounts just for our listeners. Everybody drinks coffee, whether you're a veteran or a business owner. You're going to need it. You're going to need it for your staff. You're going to need it for your break room. You're going to need it for your house. So go ahead right now, click the link in the description, in the show notes, right here, right now, and go get some Soldier Girl coffee today. Ladies and gentlemen, I am super excited and absolutely have to tell you about a phenomenal way to build your website and keep it up to date. My name is Ryan Smeltz, host of the Business and Brews Show and co-host of Veteran Talk Show. And if you are watching this, I want you to pay close attention to my screen share. This is the website of the Business and Brews Show. And the way I am talking about keeping your website, building it, getting it up to date, and having it managed is by Online Rob. So Rob is absolutely phenomenal. And what I absolutely love about this is he was able to customize the website exactly how I asked him. So as you can see, the homepage has a ton of different pictures from different episodes. Of course, here on the episodes page, you're able to listen on your favorite platform, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher Radio Public, iHeartRadio, or Castbox. You can connect with us, of course, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Listen to the 5 most recent episodes right here on the website. And of course, you can find our sponsors such as Soldier Girl Coffee and, of course, Online Rob. So the best thing about this is, as you can see on my screen, if you're watching, Online Rob is a veteran-owned small business. He will design, build, and manage the entire website for you. That comes with free unlimited updates, a domain name, your business email, and a logo if you need it. All included for our listeners is only $2.99 per year. As it says right on the screen, there are absolutely no contracts and no hidden fees. I handed this to him. He had it back within a very short amount of time. And anytime I need an update or have a question, he is there to help out. So I strongly encourage you, once again, for our listeners, you can go to businessandbrewshow.com/online-rob, or you can click on the link in the show notes. If you are not watching the video version, the link is definitely in the show notes. Be sure to check out our website. I'm super happy with his work. I'm really excited that I no longer have to figure out where to get an SSL, how to install it. I don't have to install the pixel for my Facebook ads. I don't have to manage any of the analytical tools such as Google Analytics, and I don't have to figure out how to connect the domain or set up a business email. He handles all of that for me for the low price of $2.99 per year. So once again, for our listeners, Online Rob offering this exclusive deal. Be sure to go check it out. Make sure when you fill out the form, you put that you heard about him from us in the How Did You Hear About Us box. Business and Brews Show or Veteran Talk Show. Of course, you can always use my name, Ryan Smeltz. And no longer, as a business owner, will you have to build and manage your own website. Have Online Rob do it for you. Take advantage of this exclusive deal, only $2.99 per year. Best of all, he can handle everything from, of course, a podcast to an e-commerce site. No matter what kind of business you run, Online Rob can handle it for you. So go right now, click on the link, fill out the form, take advantage of this exclusive offer, and be sure to put the show name in his How Did You Hear About Us box. Now, let's get back to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Morning Brews. This is the short segment that is respectful of your time and gives you the kick in the ass you need to get your day started. So sit down, get your cup of coffee, get ready, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Morning Brews. Today is Monday, and because we are in January, I wanted to kick it off by talking about the new year. So this morning, we're going to be talking about organizational processes. Now, I have 3 bullet points. Number 1, organize your business. 2, review the year. And 3, use the review to update. Okay. Now I have some sub bullet points, but basically the idea behind this is not just taking a look back at the year prior to see what was working and what wasn't working, but taking a look at the year ahead to see how you can update those things and make changes to influence your business in a positive way and help to grow it. So number 1, organize your business. You want to create realistic processes. Okay. So whether that is something specific on the computer, maybe your team works a lot with inbound and outbound calls, and you have an older phone system that maybe doesn't integrate with your CRM. So it is a little bit challenging for the incoming calls. They have to record all of the information manually, such as the person's name, phone number, any appointments that are scheduled, what part of the funnel that individual is in. That can be a little bit of a headache. So there are certain things you can do to help automate and or speed up a process like that, including getting a VoIP system, which is much more efficient and more common these days. However, if you're not careful about picking the right one, you could end up in a situation where all your phone system does is work over the computer, and they still have to manually enter a lot of that information. So in that specific scenario, what we're looking at creating a realistic process is you would never think that the VoIP system would capture every single piece of data. It's pretty much limited to what is coming through the phone. I guess a good example there would be the notes and what is discussed during the phone call. Of course, you can always turn on the recording feature. And many times you call in to a place and they say, "Thank you for calling this phone. This call may be recorded for quality assurance and training purposes," which is true. However, transcribing the phone call and turning that into a notes section on the CRM may be somewhat unrealistic, especially because if you do it with every single call and every single call is not a sales call, then maybe you don't need those notes transcribed, number 1. And number 2, notes on the phone call may be just about specifics, such as making sure that we get the details of whatever that person is looking for. You don't necessarily want the greeting or a voicemail transcribed into the notes section because that may not be helpful. So that's just one example where you want to focus on realistic versus unrealistic processes. There are plenty of other ones. For example, in the industry I work in, as far as shipping and receiving, a lot of what I do hinges based off of numbers. So currently right now, we're actually taking a look at some things where we're seeing a lot of errors in the numbers. And it is realistic to think that if, say, we count a certain number of units and we enter that information into the computer should be able to use our manual input to manipulate that. So in other words, if we were supposed to send in half of that and store half of it, then if I put 1,000 into the computer, it should be able to figure out that we're supposed to send 500 and store 500. That is realistic. The unrealistic part is to believe that we would never have to make any manual entries whatsoever. So right now we're working on fine-tuning that process, figuring out when we need to conduct the counts, how often, how to make them more accurate, and then put the manual entry into the system. So once again, create realistic processes. I always like to use other business owners, such as yourselves, sometimes as a sounding board to do a sanity check and see if what I'm about to do makes sense, especially for the long term. So number 2, review the year. You're going to take a look at sustains and improves, and anybody that was in the military is very familiar with what we call an after action review. Okay. I used to absolutely hate these because a lot of times it was dealt with on a certain level where either the lower people didn't quite understand it, or the expectation for the sustains and improves, it came primarily from the people involved in the exercise. And if you're brand new to something like that, you may not be able to, basically pick that type of information out. Whereas if you're a business owner, you're always going to be able to see the sustains and improves because things are either going the way that you want them to or they're not. but definitely involving your team in this process is pretty important. So basically, the after action review or the end of year review, you just take a look back at the systems and processes. You can make this a meeting, you can make it an email, whatever you want to do, but we want to figure out what is working that we want to continue doing and what is not working that we want to make adjustments on. So basically, big picture, I'm going to use my world as an example again. What is working is our receiving process of basically bringing everything in. We take pictures of all of it. Primarily, the photos are number one, to make sure that when we start working on a work order, we address every single pallet that was in that shipment. So if we have a picture of 5 pallets, then we know once we're finished whether or not we touched on all 5 of those pallets. And number 2 is the BOL, because we're very far from a paper or hard copy filing system. So the photo of the BOL helps us find that easily and take a look at it if we need to confirm quantities or shipping weight or anything along those lines. So also damages, of course, but the receiving process is pretty good. It's working. There are definitely certain areas in there where I see we might be able to make improvements, but what we're doing is working so well that it almost doesn't make sense to try to improve that process overall when it might throw a curveball in there and cause things to get messed up. So we're going to keep the same process there. The same goes for prep. I have transitioned back and forth over the past 10 months or so from an individual prepping something all the way through from beginning to end to each person doing one thing and moving it on to the next person. And to be honest with you, I based off of the numbers and running tests and timing people, including myself, someone prepping something from beginning to end is slower. However, what happens when you have one person do one thing and move it on to the next person is that you start to create bottlenecks. And if people are not there consistently, for example, doctor's appointments, they got to take time off, whatever the case may be. You don't want to be creating those bottlenecks that are hinged upon a very specific individual being present, number one. And number two, if you're creating those bottlenecks, then during the prep process, it may be faster to do one thing at a time. But over the course of a day or a week, those bottlenecks will cause the entire process to slow down. So it is faster and more consistent in the long run to have one person prep those products. So the receiving and the prep portions of what I do are very good examples of sustains. From an improved standpoint, I talked about it already, and basically we're seeing hiccups in the numbers where the manual entries don't line up with what was requested. So the warehouse numbers don't line up with the work order numbers, or basically we're seeing shortages or overages where there shouldn't be any. So I definitely have to take a look at that process. I definitely have to figure out not just how to prevent that from happening, but also some sort of backup. Now at this point, I feel like I need to incorporate a pretty solid manual process that's like a verification to help basically check the numbers against. So in any case, the manual or automatic numbers in the system aren't lining up with the, I guess you would call it a review or a kind of a checks and balances. Then it kind of sets off a red flag and we say, okay, we recorded this many by manually counting. We recorded this many in the system and it's off by, a factor of whatever percent. Then we say, okay, maybe 1 or 2 is no big deal. But if we're talking about 200 or 300 units, then we go back and take a look at that. So there's a couple examples on sustains and improves in your industry. It may be different. Once again, if you were in the military, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then the last one, use your review to update. So we kind of touched on this already. If your process is not working, then you definitely want to take a look at what you came up with for sustains and improves in order to update that process. Because if throughout the process you have 2 or 3 things that are definitely working, then when you update it, you don't want to get rid of those things because that is what's helping your process do what it's supposed to do. So definitely take those things into account. I would also suggest that when you conduct the review with your team, you get feedback based off of how they feel about the process. Because I've definitely done that before where I have tried to update a process and they didn't really like it. And Oftentimes people think, well, if your team doesn't like it, who cares? Like, you tell them what to do. So just tell them what to do and they'll do it. And I understand that. But if one change, especially if it was a pretty significant change, it wasn't major. But I weighed it against the necessity of implementation versus the level of comfort that my team was seeing. And the truth is, nobody really liked the idea of making the change. And at the end of the day, it was not 100% necessary. It wasn't we're going to absolutely fail if we don't implement this. It just, I felt like it would have made things a little bit easier overall. But at the end of the day, if my entire team is uncomfortable with that process implementation, it's not 100% necessary. I'd rather everyone be happy with their jobs than, piss off my whole team just because I want it to go a certain way. So definitely take a look at the sustains and improves, discuss it with your team, get feedback from them on the process, because then it will help you develop a more realistic approach to systems and processes, especially for the upcoming year. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you guys got something out of the episode today. I'm going to do my best to make sure that we continue to put out morning brews every single day, Monday through Friday. I'm still working on putting out a longer form version of this on Saturdays. And if you haven't checked it out yet, be sure to head over to the Veteran Talk Show. I did put an 18 plus warning on there because it does get a little crude. But if you enjoy listening to veterans talk, we have all sorts of conversations. And it's an extremely long form piece of content over on the Veteran Talk Show. So thanks so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you on tomorrow's episode of Morning Brews. Thank you so much for listening or watching Morning Brews. This, of course, has been the kick in the ass you need to get your day started. My name is Ryan Smeltz. I appreciate you tuning in and listening to this. If you've gotten any value from this or any segment on business and brews, be sure to leave us a 5-star review. Tell your friends. Make sure you subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe and tell them to leave us a 5-star review. Thank you, and shout out to our sponsors, Soldier Girl Coffee and Online Rob. And I will see you on the next